a ship sinking in a collision to a ship striking a railway bridge, we have looked at 40 of the deadliest maritime disasters in the 20th century. In peacetime, we have only looked at 40. Still 60 are yet to go. Let us begin the countdown at number 60, the sinking of the USS Hobson. On the night of 26th April 1952 at 2:20 hours or 10:20 p.m., Hobson was steaming in a formation with the aircraft carrier USS Wasp and destroyers USS Rodman and USS Ross about 900 kilometers southeast of St. John's, Newfoundland during night flight operations. Hobson was under the command of Lieutenant Commander William J. Tierney, who was the commander on the ship for 5 weeks. The destroyer's executive officer, Lieutenant William A. Hoifer, was on the bridge with the con and control of the ship when Tierney outlined a course maneuver. Hobson ahead of Wasp and then course maneuver that would put the Hobson ahead of Wasp and then come up on the carrier's port quarters, its new station. Meanwhile, Wasp's commanding officer, Captain Burnham C. McLaughlin Free, was on his bridge where Lieutenant Robert Herbst wired the con and ordered right standard rudder and flank speed to bring the carrier into the wind. The captain saw red aircraft warning lights of the two destroyers and believed they were also beginning the evolution. Tierney ordered right standard rudder and a course of 130 degrees. The rudder and a course of the wind shifted and McLaughlin ordered a necessary course change from 250 to 260 degrees. He alerted other destroyers of his change in course, but it is unclear whether anyone on Hobson's bridge had the communication. Tierney, without disclosing his intentions, put Hobson into a Williamson turn to bring the ship back to point. He suddenly ordered full left rudder and within 30 seconds full right rudder. He then yelled, "Prepare for collision," twice, as Hoifer rushed in. On the Wasp, Lieutenant Herbst told the captain they were in trouble. Just then, there was a horrendous grinding crash as the Wasp struck the Hobson. The force caused the destroyer to roll onto the port side, breaking her into two. The aft part of the ship sank fast, but 40 of the survivors came from that section as they were shot out of a scuttle hatch they managed to open. On the Wasp, life rafts were dropped and blinds lowered. One fortunate man, a chief petty officer in the bow, managed to grab a pipe protruding from the Wasp. The 176 of the crew, including the captain, who dove into the sea before Hobson was hit, were lost. Most of the dead were recovered by Ross. The sinking of the Hobson was the worst non-combat accident of the U.S. Navy, making it the 60th deadliest on our list. Sinking in 1952, 176 dead, and the Hobson belonged to the United States. You can see here the damage that the Wasp received here. Not sure why it's not clear, but that is the damage that was inflicted on the Wasp. We now move to number 59, the sinking of the Don Juan. In April 1980, the ship was bound for Cold City, but sank 37 kilometers off Maestre de Capo Island after colliding with the oil tanker M/T Tacloban City. Reported casualties were 18 dead and 115 missing, with 745 survivors. This incident later served as an inspiration for the grandiose Mascara Festival of Bacolod. Let me just bring up the picture of the MV Don Juan. Yes, this one. I think this is the MV John Juan. Making it the 59th deadliest disaster, 176 dead, sunk in 1980, belonging to the Philippines. We now move to number 50, with the sinking of the Alexandra Suvorov. Let me just pick. Okay, there is a picture. So, on June 1983, the ship was sailing from Rostov to Moscow. Chief Mate Vladimir Mitenkov and helmsman Uvarov operated the ship from the wheelhouse as the captain Vladimir Kleimenov was resting in his cabin. The ship, traveling at 13 knots or 25 kilometers per hour or 16 miles per hour, reached the sixth span of the bridge, which was lower than the main deck. A freight train went over the bridge that time. Controllers at the bank noticed the ship had come to the wrong span. They sent a radio message, but there was no reply. They launched a warning flare, but it was too late. The span cut the deck house and the cinema hall. The impact damaged the bridge, derailed some cars, and some of their contents fell onto the ship. The ship continued for another 300 meters after the bridge. The rescue boats reached the ship 40 minutes later. After the tragedy, a town named Yulnaivost was declared a closed city. So there we can see these first three pictures here. Here is a picture of some of the pieces falling on the deck. We now move to number 50, or just to mention, the Alexander Suvorov sank with 177 dead and belonged to the Soviet Union, sinking in 1983. Next, we move on to the next ship, the sinking of the MS Herald. So there it is. Yes. So that is it. The accident, the sinking of the MS Herald of Enterprise. Okay. So let me do. Sorry about that. The ship left berth in Zurich in a harbor at 18:05 Greenwich Meridian Time or GMT, with crew of 80 and carrying 459 passengers, 81 cars and 3 buses and 47 trucks. She passed the outer mall at 18:24 GMT and capsized about 4 minutes later. When the ferry reached 18.9 knots, or 35 kilometers per hour, 21.7 miles per hour, 90 seconds after leaving the harbor, the water began to enter the car deck in large quantities. The resulting free surface effect destroyed her stability. In a matter of seconds, the ship began to list 30 degrees to port. The ship briefly righted herself before listing to port once more, this time capsizing. The entire event took place within 90 seconds. Water quickly reached the ship's electrical system, destroying both main and emergency power and leaving the ship in darkness. The ship ended up on her side, half submerged in shallow water, 1 kilometer from the shore. Only Fortunia's turned to starboard in her last moments and then capsizing on a sandbar, preventing the ship from sinking entirely in much deeper water. The crew on board a nearby dredger noticed herald of the ship's lights disappear and notified the port authorities. They also reported that the bow doors appeared to be wide open. An alarm was raised at 1937 local time or 1837 Green GMT. Rescue helicopters were dispatched shortly before by assistance from the Belgian Navy. A public court of inquiry into the incident was held under the British Mr. Justice Shingen. It found the capsizing was caused by three main factors. 1. Stanley's failure to close the bow doors. 2nd, Sabel's failure to make sure the bow doors were closed. And 3rd, Dewey leaving port without knowing whether the bow doors were closed. While the court determined the immediate cause of the capsizing was Stanley's failure to close the bow doors, it was very critical of Sabel for not being in a position to prevent the disaster, calling his actions the most immediate cause of the capsizing, making it the 57th deadliest disaster with the loss of 193 passengers and crew. She sank belonging to the United Kingdom in the year 1987. We move on to the next disaster, the sinking of the ice. Sorry about that. Sinking of that is it. On 27th December 1988, the passenger ferry sank after being rammed from behind by a cargo ship on the Dhalshwari River, killing 200 people. She belonged to Bangladesh and sank in 1988, making it the 56th deadliest disaster on our list. Number 55, the sinking of the HMY Lorry. Just Lolaire. Okay, there it is. The word HMY means His Majesty's ship, His Majesty's yacht. She was originally named Amalthea and named in 1918. She carried sailors who had fought in the First World War back to the Scottish Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides. She left port of Kyle of Lochals on the mainland late on the evening of 31st December 1918. At 2:30 a.m. on New Year's Day, the ship approached the port of Stoneway, a few yards offshore and a mile away from the safety of Stoneway. John F. McClendon from Ness, Isle of Lewis, saved 40 lives, swimming ashore with a heavy line along with many survivors made their way to safety. The ship hit the infamous rock, the Vist of Horma, and sank. Along with many survivors of the made their way to safety. Only 82 of the 283 officially known passengers survived the disaster. 71% of the people on the yacht died in the incident. The impact of the disaster was devastating to the island. 205 passengers were lost, representing almost an entire generation of young men from the islands. An Admiralty inquiry found no satisfactory explanation for the disaster. Its inconclusive findings generated much ill feeling among Lewis's population amidst accusations of a whitewash. While drunkenness among the crew was discounted at the inquiry, the vessel was sailing at night in poor visibility and deteriorating weather. This hypothesis appeared to be supported by the crew of a fishing vessel, who noted that Lunaire was not navigating the correct course for entering harbor. Making it the 55th deadliest disaster on our list. She sank in the year 1919 and belonged to the United Kingdom. 205 people were lost in the disaster. Number 54, the sinking of the Matsushima. The sinking of the Matsushima ship. Okay, there is a picture. On 30th April 1908, while anchored at Manco, the Pescadores Islands off Taiwan, while returning from a training course, an accidental explosion occurred in her ammunition magazine. She rolled over onto her starboard side and then sank stern first. The accident killed 206 of her 350-member crew, including 33 midshipmen of the newly graduated 35th class of the Imperial Japanese Naval Academy. She was struck from the Navy list on 31st July 1908. Later, her wreckage was raised and scrapped. A memorial of the Matsushima class ships in general and Matsushima in particular is located at the temple of Omido-ji in Mihama, Aichi Prefecture. A memorial contains one of Matsushima 320mm shell weighing 450 kilograms. There is also a modern park memorial to replace the 1808 memorial pictured in Mangong City Park on the Bay of Penguins, County, Taiwan, near the spot where the ship went down. We now move, making it, she belonged to the Japanese, sinking in 1908. 206 people were lost in the disaster. Next, the sinking of the SS Warathat. Okay, let me see. She had left at around 7 on 26th July with 211 passengers and crew. At around 4 a.m. on 27th January, she was spotted astern on the starboard side by the Clan Line steamer Clan Tire. As Warathat was the faster ship, she drew level with the Clan Mitchell Tire by about 6 a.m., at which point both vessels communicated by signal lamp and exchanged customary information about the name and destination of the respective ship. As Warathat, going approximately 13 knots, then overtook Clan Mitchell Tire at a location abeam of the mouth of Bashi River of the southeast coast of Colony Nata. She remained in sight of the Clan McIntyre, gradually steaming away until she disappeared over the horizon by about 9:30 a.m., the final confirmed sighting of Warathat. Later that day, the weather deteriorated so quickly with increasing wind and rough seas. This had developed into a hurricane by 20th July. The captain of the clan Maritime said it was the worst weather he had experienced at sea in his 13 years as a seaman. At around 5:30 p.m. on the 27th, a ship called Hull saw the smoke of a steamer on the horizon. There was so much smoke that our captain wondered if the steamer was on fire. When darkness fell, the crew of the Hull could see the steamer running lights approaching, but still 10 to 12 miles behind them. Suddenly, there were two bright flashes from the direction of the steamer, and the lights vanished. The captain thought they were caused by explosions, but the mate of the Hull, who had also seen them, thought the flashes were brush fires on the shore. The captain agreed and did not even enter the events in the log. Only when he learned of the disappearance of the Waratath did he think the events significant. And this disaster led to the death of 211 passengers. Unfortunately, no trace of the ship has ever been found, and her fate remains unknown. She sank in the year 1909 with 211 lost belonging to the United Kingdom. Next, we moved to the coast of South. We moved to a country in the coast of South America. The sinking of the ship known as the Aquidaba. Let me just bring up photos. At your own time, you can look at the photos on your own device. Let me just think the 5 pictures there are the correct ones. Let me tell you the story. In 1900, she was renamed again, this time to restore her original name. In 1909, the ship underwent a further modernization at the island of Ilha das Cobras, in English referred to as Snakes Island near Rio de Janeiro. This included the removal of 2 heavy masts that had been installed in 1898 and 2 torpedo tubes. The Aquidaba made many cruises in these years to test the new technology of wireless telegraph and to train midshipmen. On 21st January 1906, she was scheduled to voyage. On 21st January 1906, Aquidaba was scheduled to voyage to the port of Jacarepaguá near Rio de Janeiro to escort and accommodate the Minister of Marine and his staff who were attached to the cruiser Barroso. They were inspecting sites for use as an arsenal. At about 10:45 p.m., when she was moored at Jacuacanga Bay near Big Island, the powder magazines blew up, sinking the ship within 3 minutes. A total of 212 people were killed, including 3 admirals and most of the officers of the ship, and 36 were injured. 98 people survived. Now to number Then we now move to number 52. Just before we go to 52, the Aquidaba belonged to Brazil, sank in 1906, 212 were killed. Next we move on to the sinking of the soul. We now move to number 50. us. Us. At number 51, the sinking of the sun of Nakom. Let me just no, there's nothing here. So the sinking of the South Narcom. On 10th May 1921, the ship crashed into Novosibirsk railway bridge and sank in the Ob River, resulting in the death of at least 225 people. According to other estimates, 225. According to other estimates, 400 people were killed. She sank in 1921, belonged to the Russian SFSR. See about the number of people who are killed, 225 to 400. Next, the sinking of the South Korean Changji-yeon. The South Korean ferry Changji-yeon in 1953. The South Korean ferry sank on 5th January 1953. It was cruising from Yunnan to Busan. 229 people were killed on the ship, making it the 50th deadliest disaster on our list. Next, the sinking of the MV Christina. Let me just put it here, the MV Christina. So, on the afternoon of Saturday, 1st August 1970, the ferry boat was overloaded on a final run of the day from St. Kitts to Nevis. The passenger capacity was 155, but that afternoon, Christina had approximately 320 on board. When the ship was half a mile off Nag's Head and entering the rougher seas that lined up with the channel between the two islands, the ferry boat took on water and sank. Only 91 people survived, and the greatest majority of those people that had to be rescued. After the sinking, 57 bodies were retrieved and identified. 66 bodies were retrieved but never identified. A number of bodies were trapped inside the sunken wreckage, and these bodies were left in place. A memorial to the disaster is located on the waterfront in Charleston, the capital of Nevis. That memorial reads, in loving memory of those who lost their lives in the Christina disaster on 1st August 1970, making it the 49th deadliest disaster on our list. She belonged to St. Christopher, Nevis, Anguilla, and sank in 1970. 233 people were lost in the disaster. Next, we move on to number 48, the sinking of the SS Heraklion. Okay, these are pictures. So, the SS Heraklion was on a roll-on, roll-off ferry operating the lines Piraeus, Chania, and Piranhas Chania and Piranhas Herculeo between 1965 and 1966. She capsized and sank on 8th December 1966 in the Aegean Sea in a storm. And unsecured vehicle damaged the loading door, resulting in seawater entering the vessel. The sinking resulted in the death of 234 people out of the 281 on board. She belonged to Greece and sank in 1966 with a loss of 234 people on board. Next, we move on to the sinking of the MV Dar. So, she was a Dubaian-based liner built in 1948 by Barclay Carla and C.O. Limited at shipyard in Glasgow, Scotland. The 120-meter four-decked vessel traveled mostly between the Persian Gulf and the Indian subcontinent, carrying expatriated passengers who were employed in the nations of the Gulf. She sank in the Persian Gulf on 8 April 1961 as a result of a powerful explosion that caused the deaths of 238 of the 819 people on board at that time, including 19 officers and 113 crew. Another 565 were rescued during an operation by a British Army tank landing craft, a number of ships of the Royal Navy, and several British and foreign merchant ships. Next, making it there. Let me just get it. Making it the 47th disaster on our list. Next, we move on to number 46. The sinking of a large number of ships. It is the sinking of the Great Lakes storm of 1930. So the sinking of the Great Lakes storm of 1913, a cyclonic blizzard, sometimes referred to as an inland hurricane, on the Great Lakes occurred between 7th and 10th November 1913. In total, 12 ships were sunk with it, with a combined crew loss of 255. An additional 7 ships were damaged beyond repair. 19 more ships that stranded were later salvaged, making it the 47th deadliest disasters on our list. The ship sank in 1913, belonging to the United States. 255 people were lost in the tragedy. Number 46, the sinking of the Greta. Just putting up the pictures. So that is the Greta. So on 19th January 1996, the ferry Greta sank during a strong storm 6 miles from Sampan. Of those on board, between 260 and 340 were killed. Only 47 people were survived. She sank in 1996, belonging to Indonesia. 260 to 340 people were lost. Next, we move on to number 45, the sinking of the Agnamos. Oops, I know that. don't think I have a picture of it. Let's frame the pictures. I thought I had a picture here. This is the only picture. This is the only picture I have, unfortunately. So, the Angangamos was built in England for the Fratelli Lavarello Fugibi from Genova under the name of Città di Venezia. Later she was sold to William Reus and Zonen from Rotterdam and renamed the Sparta. On 6 July 1928, she sailed bound for Taclahuano and sank off Punta Moglubis, Lebu, Chile. Of the 269 aboard, only 262 were lost and 7 rescued. It was the second largest single maritime loss of life in the history of Chile. She sank in 1928, belonging to Chile, and with 262 people lost. Next, we move on to number 46, number 44, the sinking of the Likoni ferry in Kenya. Likoni ferry is a ferry service across the Kilindini Harbour, serving the Kenyan city of Mombasa between Mombasa Island side and the mainland suburb of Likoni. 2 to 4 double-ended ferries alternate across the harbour, carrying both road and foot traffic. So sorry about that. So the Likoni ferry. So on 29th April 1994, the overloaded passenger ferry Mtongwe 1 capsized and sank, killing 272 of the more than 300 aboard. 272 people were lost. She was sunk in 1994, belonging to Kenya. Next, we move from Africa. We go to near the European continent. The sinking of the SS. Let me just bring up this. Yes, those are the pictures. Those are some of the pictures of Mtongwe 1. So after that, let me just bring you back to number 43, the sinking of the SS Uskudar. Yes, there it is. The Uskudar. She was a small passenger ferry built in Germany for the Turkish company Şirket-i Hayriye and launched in 1927. She sank in Ayodos weather on March 1st, 1958 in the Gulf of Izmit. The accident killed 272 people on board, including 7 crew, and 39 people only survived the disaster, making it the 43rd deadliest disaster with 272 lost. Number 42, the sinking of the ship F-174. The sinking of the ship F-174 took place on the night of December 25th to 26, 1996, off the coast of Sicily in the Mediterranean Sea. An old severely overloaded wooden ship transporting illegal immigrants from India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan to Italy sank 19 nautical miles or 22 miles or 35 kilometers from Port Opalo di Capo Passero in Sicily, Italy, under questionable circumstances and came to rest under 108 meters of water. The number of deaths remains unknown, but at least 283 men, women and children perished. This event was at the time the worst maritime disaster in the Mediterranean Sea since World War II. Number 41, the sinking of this. The F-174 belongs to Malta and sank in 1996. 283 plus people were lost. Then the sinking of the SS Uskudar belonged to Turkey, sank in 1958. Okay, now move to number 41, the sinking of the Century.Hope ferry. The South Korean ferry Century.Hope sank on October 10th, 1993 in the Yellow Sea near Widowbuan County, North Jeolla Province. 292 of the 362 passengers and crew on board were killed. 70 were rescued in the disaster. The ship... Let me just show you a picture of it. Yes, I think that is it. Okay, let me just finish with number 40. Okay, the sinking of the SS Sirio. The SS Sirio. Then we end the video for today. I'll try and do one too. So the SS Sirio was an Italian merchant steamer that had a shipwreck off the eastern Spanish coast on August 4th, 1906, causing the deaths of at least 150 Italians and Spanish immigrants bound for Brazil, Uruguay and Argentina. The shipwreck gained notoriety because the captain, Jesper Picon, abandoned ship at the first opportunity. The wreck had a profound effect on communities in northern Italy and was remembered in popular songs of the era. Of the 645 aboard were lost. Of the 293, including Italian and Spanish immigrants bound for Argentina. Of the 645 people on board were lost. Other sources put the death toll at over 500, meaning this disaster is the 40th because she sank in 1906, belonging to Italy, with the deaths of 293 to 500 people. In the next video, we will look at some ships that sank in the Amazon. Others sank in explosions. Others had a propeller shaft fractured. Others ran aground. A ferry. We'll also look at a ferry that capsized also. And also we'll look at the sinking of a ship, the Nakimov, which we've seen in very previous videos, but that one was a warship. Anyways, guys, that's the end of this video. I'll give a very nice shout out to my fellow subscribers who have subscribed to the channel. We've reached 14 when we only had 8. Thank you for the support. Anyways, I better be going right now. Anyways, everybody have a great day. In case I don't bring the video tomorrow, I may bring it in 1 month's time. 1 month's time, since we've got a lot going on here at home. So I better sign off. But in case I don't be this month, maybe you can check out the channels, that the things you have missed in these previous videos. So I better be going. Anyways, leave a like and a comment, and I'll see. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more ocean liner design or ocean for more maritime disasters. Anyways, I'll before I leave, let me just leave with a sharing of one of my fellow friends, Ocean Liner Designs. Liner Designs, a good friend of mine. Well, not a friend, I actually don't know him, but he's a very nice YouTuber who does almost the same videos. In fact, let me just give you a preview of what his channel shows. Sorry, ads.
Since humankind's earliest days, we have been both fascinated and terrified by the ocean, and we've tried to conquer it. But no other vessel has quite captured the imagination as the ocean liner. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Brady, and this is Ocean Liner Designs. On this channel, we learn the stories behind some of history's greatest ships. We look at the engineering genius that went into their construction, and the fascinating stories from their careers at sea. From great rivals and competitors to legendary sisters and running mates. From the forgotten, the overlooked and the unknown, to the legendary, the prominent and the infamous. In all kinds of conditions and weather, we look at how they were operated, and sometimes we look at how they died. Be it from aboard the decks of magnificent museum ships that are still with us today, or searching for precious artifacts of ships long gone. We'll learn what life at sea was truly like, and this channel will stand as a tribute to the greatest ships of all time. So join the crew and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on board.
So from that preview, you've seen what kind of channel he does. He does nearly the similar things I do, except he has simulations, that technology. You can help me to become nearly like him by subscribing and sending money through super chats that are given there. Anyways, thanks guys, see you and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.